Thank you for my very large audience. Also for everybody that might be watching on YouTube. This is Drupal 8 for Newcomers. In this session, well, first of all, I'm Allison. I work for Savah Group as a developer. I also, in my free time and professional time, open source contribute, and I make bad video games in my free time as well. So for this session, what I'm going to go over is I'm going to basically from the ground up build a Drupal 8 site. This site's going to have custom pages and articles as well as added modules, multiple users, custom subtheme, and custom CSS and JavaScript. So the custom subtheme and CSS and JavaScript is going to be a little more technical, so I'll go ahead and warn anybody if they're not super technical, but it's not going to go very in-depth, just basic HTML and CSS and JavaScript. But this will allow you to, say if you inherit a site, it'll allow you to get in there and make some custom code changes if you're not familiar with how Drupal works. So first of all, why Drupal? First of all, Drupal provides flexibility out of the box that a lot of CMSs don't. It can do a lot more than, say, WordPress with added with custom post types in Drupal. It makes it a lot easier to do, whereas WordPress you're going to have to either install some plugins to get that available or add your own code. It's open source, which ties in as well with security. Because it being open source, there's a community effort behind fixing security patches and just being responsive to the needs of the Drupal project. So, one tool that I'm going to use today is Acquia Dev Desktop. This makes it super easy to host either locally or remotely a Drupal site. It gets you started from nothing to up and running in just a matter of seconds. There's other solutions that you can use. You could do all of it yourself. You could also, there's applications such as MAMP or WAMP that make a lot of the hooking the database up and everything easier for you. But this is strictly designed for Drupal by Acquia. So it makes building a Drupal site, it makes it super, super easy. So from there forward, I'm going to start just building the site. So first step is to download the Acquia Dev Desktop. I have the link here in the slides, but I already have it installed on my machine. So I'll open that up. The first screen you're going to come to here is going to be just an overview of what sites you have. In this left-hand panel, you can see I have 2 sites already hooked up. I actually made these sites just in case the internet went down today. So I could still get a new site up and running. But even if you don't have anything from set up, you can click this plus sign down here and create a new Drupal site. And it's going to take you to the install options here. These are all builds of Drupal. So these are bundled up modules that get you started depending on your needs. The Acquia Lightning one there is a really neat one that's they're just now putting out. It's available. They also have some that are geared towards e-commerce. If you had like a shop, online shop, things like that. But today I'm just going to go ahead and build a basic Drupal 8 site. So I'll just go with the standard base Drupal install that you would get, say, if you went to Drupal.org and downloaded it. So from here it pulls up some options for me. I'm actually going to back out of this so I don't have to download the whole build, but go to a similar screen here by importing a local site that I have set up. And so we have the same screen here. I'll point it to my my installation folder, which is right here. It's already there. We'll name the site DrupalCamp Live Demo. You can pick your PHP version there. Also, if you had a database import, it gives you the option there, but we're starting from fresh, so we'll create a new database with the same name, and that's it. Click OK. Let's see, invalid host name. This always seems to happen whenever you're doing live coding, but I think I know what the issue here is. DrupalCamp live. Okay, let's try that instead. There we go. So that's it. It's we have the database hooked up, the database is running, and the install for Drupal is ready to go. So here it has my local directory of where everything is installed on my machine. It also has the locally hosted URL there. If I click that, it's going to pull up my site in the menu or in my browser. And then if I click on the local code directory, it'll take me there. So it just makes accessing your files easier. If I wanted to open it in the console, I'd click the little console button and my console would pop up there in the directory of my site. But so what we'll do next is to click on the local site. That pulls up the uninstalled website in my browser, and from here Drupal walks you through installing a fresh site. So this is the screen that'll pop up. We'll pick English for our language. Standard installation. Give it a second. Maybe I didn't click it hard enough. Okay, this may have something to do with the denial of service attacks that are going on, but good thing I have a redundant copy here. But assuming I had full internet connectivity, I would walk through the steps there to go ahead and install the site and eventually come to a screen like this, which is a fresh copy of a newly installed Drupal 8 site. So from here, we're on the front page. This is the page that you go to if you just went to the URL. And the first thing that I like to do whenever I do anything with a new Drupal site is add a little bit of flexibility on my menus up here. You see up on the top, this is how you navigate the administration of the site. And there is, so Drupal incorporates what are called modules that add extended functionality to Drupal sites. And one module that I like to use is the admin toolbar one. It makes hovering over these menu items drop down with a list. It adds some cache flushing capability. It just makes navigating around a little bit easier. So what we'll do is go ahead and install that module. So in order to get to the modules page, just click the extend button here up at the top. And it'll bring up a list of all the pre-installed modules that come with a just standard Drupal 8 install build. Some of these are not enabled, and then some of them are. You can tell by the checkboxes there. And but the one that we'll need to install a new module, or at least make installing a new module easier, is called the Update Manager module. And it comes available with your build, just not enabled. So I clicked the button here that says Enable the Update Manager module. It'll scroll me down to where it is, and there you see Update Manager. I'll go ahead and click the box there to have it selected and click Install. And so this is going to make it easier for me to find my admin toolbar module and install it. So now that the module's been enabled, we'll go back to where it is down here and then expand this, and it has some configure options here. Click on configure. That'll take me to the module admin page here. And from here, we'll click list and click install a new module or theme. So this makes it easy to either install from a URL, which would typically be the Drupal.org repository of modules that they host, or if you downloaded a module, you could install it from a local file on your machine. But we'll try and do it from the from the Drupal repository on Drupal.org. So it has a link here that says you can find modules and themes on Drupal.org. I'm just going to click on that link. And it'll bring it to the repository here of modules that Drupal has. From here, it gives me some sorting options because we are on a Drupal 8 site. I'm going to go ahead and filter anything else that's not compatible with Drupal 8. So core compatibility, click on 8.x, and let's just see what that gives us. I happen to know that this is a really popular module, and which is how they're sorted, so it's actually the third one down, so I'm not going to filter any more than that. But you can see all of the most popular modules here at the top. And then here's the admin toolbar module that I was talking about. Let's click on that page. It'll give you a write-up about all of the functionality of the module, as well as download links here down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the zip file there, right-click on it, and copy a link address. Go back to my Drupal site where it says install from a URL, paste that file address in there, and then just click install. And there it goes. It's installed successfully. It went ahead and pulled it down from Drupal.org, installed it, and then from here it gives me the option to enable it. So go ahead and click on enable. And then if you scroll down, you'll see under the administration tab here is my new admin toolbar module. I go ahead and do the same thing that I did with the update manager. Click both of those, hit install, and that enables the modules. Give it a second to load here. And now, if you can see, my toolbar up here changed a little bit, and as I said earlier, if I hover over it, it gives me all of these drop-down menus to make it a little more accessible. There's also this really handy menu if you do any front-end dev work or really any dev work on the site. It makes flushing the caches of the site. It's just super easy for development. You just click these buttons here. And it, like I said, it makes just navigating around the site a lot easier. So that's modules. There's tons of other modules that extend the functionality of your site. You can always find them on the repository on Drupal.org. But let's go back to our site and get an article on there. So the front page right now actually is a collection of all of the articles that you have published, which are none right now. So we'll go ahead and add one. It makes it actually really easy here. It just says add content. We can click that button. It would be the same thing as going over here to the content admin thing, add content, and clicking article. So here it pulls up a nice little editor with a title and a body for your article. So no development technical ability required here. You just type in welcome to DrupalCamp. And then in the body here, we can put this is the content of the article. It also gives you some functionality for adding links in here, or say if I wanted to make something bold, you could do that. If you are a little more tech savvy, if you wanted to add some HTML in there, just click the source button there, and you see this is a paragraph. This has the paragraph tags around it, but you could say make content bold. It would be the same thing as clicking the bold thing, but add that in there, and then go back here. You see that's formatted as bold. So that's as easy as it is to add a new article. We'll click Save and Publish, and go back to our front page here. And there is the article, Welcome to DrupalCamp Atlanta. Let's say that it's published as admin right now because that's who I'm logged in as. But you could also say if you had just a content writer for your site that you wanted to be able to publish articles but nothing else. You could add another user and limit their roles to just being able to publish or edit their own articles. So we'll go ahead and do that. Up on the People's tab up here, let's click first we'll add a new role. So these, you can sort users into their abilities as a user. So say if you wanted a content writer, you would say anybody with the designation of a content writer is going to be able to publish articles and nothing else, or publish articles and pages or nothing else. And you can really fine tune that to have them be able to do whatever. Drupal extends a lot of options there. So we'll go ahead and add a article or content writer, we'll say, is the role name. Go ahead and click save. And then it pulls up the screen here of all of our roles. The 3 that come standard with Drupal are anonymous user, that's anybody that comes to the site that's not logged in. Authenticated user, that's any user that is logged in. Administrator would be the account that we're on that can do everything. And then there's our new content writer role. By default, this content writer role is also an authenticated user, so any permissions that an authenticated user is allowed is also allowed to the content writer. Let's go ahead and extend that content writer's abilities a little bit further to allow them to publish articles. So we'll go ahead and click here, edit permissions. And then see, as you can see, it is very fine-tuned on the permissions allowed, but really they only need one permission, and that is to create new content for the article content type. So we'll click that. Also, we'll allow them to administer menus. This just lets the menu items pop up at the top there. So those are the 2 extra permissions that they're going to get aside from the ones that are already granted as an authenticated user. So now that the role's created, we need to actually add the user and then assign that role to them. So I'll go ahead and put my email address in there. I'll have to use a different one since I used mine as the administrator account one. Add that. Put in a password. And then here under roles, authenticated users already checked by default. We'll go ahead and add the content writer role in there. And that's it. Create account. And now we have a second user for our site. So in a different window, I'm going to go to the site. I need to copy this. Going to go to the site and log in as my other user. So now I'm logged in. You'll see that it's a lot different than the other view was. It doesn't have hardly as much stuff going on here. In fact, it doesn't have the admin panel that I had there going there, but that's all right. Let's see. Go ahead and edit the permissions for that user. Well, I'll just go ahead and make them administrator as well. But assuming my permissions were set correctly, this user would only be allowed to post articles. For the sake of example, though, I went ahead and enabled everything as an admin user, and you can see there I can add a content as a different user. We'll go ahead and add a second article. And then publish that. And we'll see back here on our site, we have on the front page, there we go. So we have the first article published by admin and the second article published by ed. So that is adding new users to the site. One other thing that needs to be noted is blocks on Drupal. Drupal uses blocks to add in little snippets of functionality that need to be reproduced on other pages. So if something wasn't specific to one page, if you wanted it to appear on other pages, such as a search bar or a powered by Drupal little snippet down there, you could have it, which both of those are actually enabled on the page right now. Let's say I don't want that powered by Drupal thing there, though, which actually appears on all pages. In order to remove that from the page, what we'll do is go to Structure, Block Layout, and find that Drupal. See, we have the powered by Drupal module or block there added in the footer. All we have to do to take that out is remove it as a disabled block and hit save. And now on the front page, that block is going to be removed. So there's a lot of content to cover in blocks, so I'll just briefly touch on it there, but it does kind of demonstrate the modular functionality that Drupal has. If you needed to reproduce something on another page, blocks make it real easy to be able to just plug in or take out those sections of the page. So right now our site is just one page, the home page. In order to add another site or another page, what we'll do, let's say we wanted to add a contact page. So in the same way that I added the article, all you do is go to Content, Add Content, and then Basic Page. Here we'll say in the title, Contact Us, and I'll put my email address there. Add a link, click save, and just as easily as we added the article, we added a new page. However, right now this page has kind of an ugly URL. Instead of being contact us, it says node/3. So in order to change that, we'll edit the page and go to URL path settings. You can put an alias in here that'll make it prettier. So we'll say we want to name that the contact page. We'll just type /contact in there and then save it. And now we have a pretty URL that just says /contact. We can also add this page to the menu bar. Considering we only have 2 pages, might as well put it in the menu. Click menu settings there and click provide a menu link. The menu title will say contact us. The weight, it needs to appear after the home page, so we'll put 1 there. Save and keep published. And then now we can switch between our home page and our contact us page easily and have our contact information there. So as far as the kind of administration of the graphical interface goes for Drupal, that's as far as I'm going to dive into that. There's definitely more functionality involved there. But say if you're a front-end developer or you needed to get some custom styling on a page, in order to do that, it was very daunting for me whenever I first started working on Drupal sites because I didn't really know how to do that, and that's all I wanted to do. I didn't need to learn the whole CMS at that point. So I'll quick and dirty get some custom CSS in there, apply it to a custom page such as our Contact Us page, as well as show you how to get custom JavaScript in there as well. So if you wanted to add a animation or some sort of tracking code, there's actually modules that can help you do that, but surefire way of getting it in there would be to add the custom JavaScript yourself and attach it to the page. So we will go ahead, in order to, there's several ways to get custom CSS and JavaScript onto a Drupal page, but the way I'm going to do it is through themes. We'll add a theme library and enable a sub-theme on the page, or on the site. So the theme is essentially a layout of your page. It has styling in there. If they're easily switched in and out, there's custom ones that are available on Drupal.org, just as the same way that I did the modules. You can find, see, they have the Bootstrap theme here. They also have ones that if you aren't a front-end developer, but you do want to, you know, say change the color of the header or something like that, there's themes in here that are geared towards, you know, no coding involved. You can install those just the same way that we installed a module and have more thematic control over your site. But we will go ahead and add a new theme, new sub-theme to our site. As the default theme that comes with Drupal is, or the Drupal install that we did is Bartik. It comes enabled. We're going to actually just barely extend Bartik. We'll use our sub-theme will be a child of Bartik, so it's going to take all the functionality of Bartik, and then whatever specification we add on top of that, it'll add to it. So in order to do that, we'll need to go to our install directory. Click that. In the install directory, there's a themes folder. And right now it's empty because the theme that's currently enabled is actually a part of Drupal core. It's not going to show up in here. We actually have no contributed themes added yet. It's a blank slate. So in order to add a new one, we'll need to create a new directory inside of themes. Go ahead and make this a little bit cleaner. And we'll name that DrupalCamp, or DrupalCamp ATL. And to kick off a new theme, the first and really only file that you're going to need in there is a info.yaml file. This is a little boilerplatey. It's not much, but it is some stuff you're just going to have to take for granted until I can get it explained. But I'll go ahead and copy some code that I've already generated and paste it in there and go over, you know, what each part of that means. So, oops, wrong focus, wrong button. So, let me pull up my, there we go. Okay. So I'm copied and pasted my info.yaml file into the folder there. And this template just is pretty much a configuration for your theme. You write your name in there at the top, the type of file it is, and it is a theme extension. A description, it's a sub-theme of Bartik, so we'll leave that in there. The core version, which is Drupal 8. Base theme, that's Bartik. That's the theme that's currently enabled on the site. And like I said, we're going to extend that. That's the machine name for the theme. So by writing in Bartik there, it's going to know to use that to base it off of. And then libraries. This is where our custom CSS and JavaScript comes into play. I actually don't have the library file there yet. But we're pointing to, in our DrupalCamp Atlanta directory, there's or namespace, there's a global styling library that we're going to have some CSS and JavaScript attached to. And then these regions configurations here, these actually come straight from Bartik. I simply copied and pasted these from the Bartik info.yaml file just so that they match up and there's no the configuration on the themes look the same. If I didn't do this, then the site would kind of change on how it's laid out with blocks and whatnot. So I went ahead and copied and pasted that in there. So now that we have that info.yaml file, if we go back to appearance and which shows all the themes, we still have Bartik enabled, but down here in uninstalled themes, you can see our DrupalCamp Atlanta theme that is currently not really much of a theme at all, but it does at least exist. So we'll go ahead and install and set as default. It may scream at me because I actually haven't defined my library file yet, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and get that sorted out if it does. But it looks like it's all right so far. We have DrupalCamp Atlanta as the default theme, and our description there says it's a sub-theme of Bartik. So going back to the site, let's see if anything changed. And no, it looks, other than our logo there, everything looks pretty much the same. That's because it's pulling everything from Bartik. Just for pretty's sake, we'll go ahead and add a new logo in there. This is jumping around just slightly, but it kind of irks me that that image there is broken. Here on logo image, just uncheck the use logo supplied by the theme. Right now it's looking for that file that's in Bartik, but since we're in a new theme, that file doesn't exist. So we'll upload a new file for our logo and do the orange peach there for the Atlanta JavaScript, or sorry, Atlanta Drupal. Now if we go back to the site and clear our caches, this is where the admin toolbar comes in handy. Give it a second and that logo should change to our new pretty orange one. So there we go. So now that we have the theme enabled, we'll need to actually add our custom CSS. So say we wanted to change the blue header here and make it green, for instance. What we do is go back to our directory here, and I'm actually going to open this in my text editor because I'm going to be doing a little bit of coding. Let's see. So here we have, there we have our DrupalCamp Atlanta theme folder. We're going to have to add a new file that is also a YAML file, but this defines our library. So we'll do, actually, since there is a little bit of boilerplate involved with this as well, and I know that because I'm coding live, I will make mistakes, I'm going to go ahead and make the safe call of copying and pasting it over. So with our libraries work, both of these need to go in there. Okay. So now we have our libraries.yaml file. This is basically, this is saying that, hey, this is where our global styling library is that we defined in our YAML file, and it says it includes these files. A file that's in the CSS folder that's titled style.css, and a file that's in the JavaScript folder that says script.css. And it says globally across the whole site, load these files on every page. I actually haven't created those files yet, so I'll need to do that. So we'll go into create a new folder, one for CSS, one for JavaScript, and for the CSS one, a new file, style.css, and in here, let's see, the header, the ID for the header is, I know it's just header, but there it is. ID's header, so we'll select that. And background on color, green. I don't know of a fancy hex code for a nice green, so I'm just going to use green. So if we go back and clear our caches, this should change the header to green. There we are. So as you can see, the library is applying those styles site-wide. We could also, just as the same way that we did the CSS, add a new JavaScript file, script.js, and in here, console log JavaScript is working. Get back to our page, flush our caches again. And there we go. So when the page loads, it executes that JavaScript that says JavaScript is working. So that is, in a nutshell, how you get custom JavaScript and CSS onto a site through a theme. You can also, I don't have enough time to go through into it today, but if you wanted to alter the actual HTML layout of this page, there's a naming convention that Drupal uses that you could pull a template from and use that as your HTML template. In that HTML template, you could call in a separate library that would specifically attach CSS to, say, the Contact Us page. So instead of loading on every page, your new library instead would load simply on the Contact Us page, or any other page, or any other specific component of your site that you'd like to attach it to. Anywhere that template loads, your JavaScript or CSS is going to load. So I believe that is all of the time that I have as far as the demonstration goes. I will open it up to y'all. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer, or if I can clarify anything about the presentation, I'd be glad to. Anybody? Good? All right. Well, thank y'all for sitting through this.